fellow patriots. This is a report I want to bring to your attention. It shines a light to the inner thought process of Hamas's supporters, and various other factions that are in official positions in various governments and unofficial positions in various communities in various countries. In this particular case, it's Turkey, that shows how support for Hamas, how anti-Israeli, anti-Western movements, be it political or social, and both social political, gets itself done. The thought process, the modus operandi, the stated goals, and so forth. This is published yesterday by Nordic Monitor. The title, as you can see, Turkish al-Qaeda group threatens Jews, demands jailing of Hamas critics, and besieging of NATO bases. Another reminder, Turkey is still a NATO member. Of course, you wouldn't know that by looking at its conduct, but if you go back a couple of videos that I have posted, you would know that the top brass that had NATO appointments have been dispersed of, reshuffled, and been replaced by new members of the top brass that are loyal to Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, and they're all hardliners. Therefore, it unofficially severs the military connection between the Turkish top brass and military aspects of NATO, which is in itself a strategy. But I don't want to take any more of your time, and let's go ahead and look into this. This is Ali Osman Zor, and you're going to see him talk in a little bit. The Islamic Great East Raiders Front, İslami Büyük Doğu Akıncıları Cephesi, IBDA-C, a militant Turkish jihadist organization that openly endorses al-Qaeda ideology, has recently targeted the Jewish community in Turkey. This disturbing development unfolded in the wake of Hamas's terrorist attacks on October 7th, subsequently prompting an escalation of Israel's offensive in Gaza. The group has called for a siege of all military bases hosting NATO and US troops in Turkey, a declaration of total war against Jews, the confiscation of assets belonging to Jews and those who engage in trade with Israel or support Israel's economy, and the imprisonment of Turks who have endorsed Israeli views and opposed Hamas. Quote, Jewish capital that belongs to Israel, that pours money into Israel, and that controls the lifeline of the economy must be confiscated immediately, declared Ali Osman Zor, a prominent figure within IBDA-C. Zor, who has a criminal record and has previously served time for engaging in terrorist activities, made this statement in a video interview that was published on the group's online platform, adamlardergisi.com, on October 18th, 2023. Furthermore, he emphasized, quote, any action or utterance that lends support to Israel within the country must be deemed tantamount to endorsing terrorism. Investigations should be promptly launched into such individuals, culminating in their immediate arrest, unquote. Zor, in his call for total war against Jews, the US, the UK, and France underscored the need for Turkey to spearhead a coalition against Israel. He advocated for a siege on all NATO bases, on Turkish territory and proposed issuing a 48-hour ultimatum for their exit from these bases. Additionally, he urged the government to compel the natives of these nations to quickly depart from the Eastern Mediterranean. Here's another photo of Ali Osman Zor, a senior leader of the IBDA-C terrorist group. Quote, "We must disperse with the pretense of being a mediator, as Turkey will no longer fulfill that role. Instead, Turkey must emerge as a nation that forges a war, in context, front against Israel and assumes a leadership position in its formation," unquote. He further said, quote, "It will be officially announced that we are leaving NATO, and a 48-hour ultimatum will be issued to NATO bases, compelling them to evacuate their troops and depart from Turkish soil. If the situation necessitates, appeal will be made to locals residing in the vicinity of these NATO bases, mobilizing our entire nation of 80 million people, similar to the blockade enforced on Gaza. Our citizens will surround the NATO bases, effectively blocking them. The pressure will mount on NATO bases until they comply and vacate within the specified 48-hour time frame," unquote. He said in articulating IBDA's position. The leader of IBDA-C's also referenced statements made by Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. By the way, I'd like to let you know that Hakan Fidan right now is the foreign minister, but his prior post was the head of Turkish National Intelligence Agency. Hakan Fidan on October 17th during a speech in Lebanon. Fidan had said, quote, "We require new definitions. When you occupy someone's land, confiscate their home, and demolish it, then displace the occupants to replace them with others, you label them settlers. In reality, this act should be called theft, and we must acknowledge it as such," unquote. Zor said in light of the recent statement by Turkey's senior diplomat characterizing Israeli activities, the Turkish government is obliged to translate these words into concrete action. Quote, "The response that should be accorded to a thief," Jews in this context, "is to cut off their hands, and for those involved in confiscation, it is to pierce their liver and rip out their heart," unquote. Zor also said his group sees no issue with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan assuming the role of a dictator in Turkey as long as those who express pro-Israel, anti-Hamas views are imprisoned. He also issued a threat suggesting that if the government fails to take action, social forces may mobilize, implying that his group will take matters into their own hands against Jews, whom he accused of holding the entire global population of 8 billion people hostage. Zor also called for the termination of all agreements with Israel and Western nations. He predicted that violence would persist until the destruction of Israel is achieved. He also forecast the elimination of Israel's supporters, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and France, from the face of the earth. Excerpts from the interview with Ali Osman Zor. Now, it's 3 minutes long. What is said in this video is translated on the screen. I have already covered it above, but just for sake of posterity, I am going to play it. Here we are. And if you want to read what is being translated, which I have already covered, feel free to pause the video at your discretion.
Büyükelçi başta olmak üzere İsrail'e ait ne kadar diplomatik misyon varsa hepsi gönderilmeli. Bu yetmez. İsrail'e ait, İsrail'e para akıtan, ekonominin can damarlarını elinde tutan Yahudi sermayesi hemen derdest edilmeli. Ve daha önemlisi ülke içinde de İsrail'i destekleyen her bir hareket, her bir sözü teröre destek kabul edip hakkında soruşturma açılmalı ve ivedilikle tutuklanmalı destekleyenler. Onun haricinde şu arabulucu rolünden vazgeçilmeli. Arabulucu sahtekarlığından vazgeçilmeli. Çünkü Türkiye arabulucu olmayacak. Türkiye İsrail karşısında kurulması gereken cepheyi oluşturması gereken bir ülke. NATO'dan çıkıldığı ilan edilecek. NATO üslerine, Amerikan üslerine 48 saat mühlet tanınacak. 48 saat içinde ülkeyi terk etmesi söylenecek. Gerekirse NATO üslerinin bulunduğu bölge insanına çağrıda bulunacak. Bütün halkımız el ele 80 milyon ayağa kaldırılıp NATO üsleri çepeçevre aynı Gazze'yi onlar nasıl ki abluk altına aldılarsa halkımız tarafından NATO üsleri abluk altına alınacak ve 48 saat içerisinde bunlar gitmeye zorlanacak. Gerekli görüşmeler yapılacak. Amerika'ya ve İngiltere'ye ait, şimdi Fransa'nın da geleceği söylenen gemilerin tekrar Akdeniz'i terk etmesi söylenecek. Yani bu tabii ki savaş ilanıdır. 10 tane Yahudi, bilemedim 10 milyon olsun. 10 milyon Siyonist, 8 milyar insanı rehin almış. Rasakson batıya bağlı olan ülkelerle yaptığı açık ve gizli ikili anlaşmalardan da çekilmeli. İsrail'le yapılan bütün anlaşmalardan çekilmeli. Türkiye'nin ortaya koyacağı güçlü bir iradeyle anca çözülebilir. Eğer bu konmazsa halk, Anadolu ahalisi kendi içinden çıkaracakları dinamiklerle bu iradeyi koyacak. Çünkü burada kalışının, burada varoluşunun başka bir şeyi kalmadı. Başka şekilde biz Anadolu'da var olamayız. Bizi Anadolu'da bırakmayacaklar. Bu gayeyle bir hamle ortaya koyacaksan diktatör olmanda da bir beis yoktur. Diktatör olacaksan böyle olur. Ve bu diktatörlüğünde eğer sen bu hamleyi koyarsan ilk ortaya çıkacağı yer İsrail taraftarlarının, Siyonizm taraftarlarının bu kadar açıkça İsrailciliklerini ortaya koyanların teröre destek vermekten, terör üyesi olmaktan sorgusuz sualsiz tutuklamandır. Kanun gerekiyorsa da kanun çıkar. Şimdi Hakan Fidan demiş Dışişleri Bakanı, İsrailler orada Filistinleri korudu, topraklarına kondu, buna da yerleşimci dediler. Bunun adı hırsızlık diyor. O zaman hırsızın kolunu kes. Madem hırsızın hırsız olduğunu tespit ediyorsun, hırsıza yapılması gereken muamele nedir? Kolunu kesmektir. Gasıpsa ciğerini deşmektir. Kalbini sökmektir. Topraklarımız da orası. Halen de bizim toprağımız. Başkasının toprağı değil ki. Filistinlerden gasp etmedi oraları. Onları Türklerden gasp etti. İddet İsrail yıkıldığı zaman son bulacak. Bu manada İsrail de yıkılacak, Amerika da yıkılacak, İngiltere de yıkılacak.
And that concludes that video, which all the points have been translated and covered. There we are. Zor has a history of legal troubles and imprisonment. He was initially convicted for his role as an administrator in the IBDA-C terrorist organization, resulting in a 15-year prison sentence. He served time from 1994 to 2002, after which he was released while awaiting a review of his conviction by the Supreme Court of Appeals. He subsequently faced multiple new trials with various criminal charges brought against him by public prosecutors. In 2008, he was once again convicted and sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. In an attempt to avoid serving his earlier sentence and facing a new one, Zor fled to Kyrgyzstan in 2009. However, he was detained by the Kyrgyz authorities in 2011 and subsequently extradited to Turkey. He was ultimately released from prison in September 2013. Indeed, the threats of violence and terrorism by IBDA-C should be treated with the utmost seriousness, especially considering the past record of terrorist acts attributed to the group, which has claimed responsibility for a series of terrorist attacks in Turkey, including what authorities deemed a joint operation with al-Qaeda, leading to the 2003 bombings in Istanbul, targeting 2 synagogues, an HSBC bank branch, and the British Consulate General. I am in full agreement with this statement. None of these groups should ever be treated as any less than what they demand to be treated as when it comes to the legitimacy of their threat and the seriousness of their claims, in the sense that there needs to be a correlation between how they see themselves and how they are treated by people that they threatened. And in other words, none of these guys, for lack of a better term, none of these groups, none of these people, they're small potatoes. No. That's where mistakes can be made. Additionally, they were involved in a 2008 attack on the U.S. Consulate General in Istanbul. These incidents demonstrate the group's willingness to engage in acts of terrorism and further underline the need for vigilance and effective counterterrorism efforts. This man is Salih İzzet Erdeş, popularly known as his followers as Commandant Salih Mirzabeyoğlu. And he's what you want to call it, posing in front of such photos. It's a new world order. The group was launched by its infamous late leader Salih İzzet Erdeş, who was also known by his adopted name Salih Mirzabeyoğlu. He first started out as a publisher in the mid-1970s and later organized the IBDA-C in 1984. Excuse me. Using a cell-based approach, the group has brought a radical interpretation to the literature and teachings of Necip Fazıl Kısakürek, the late renowned Turkish poet and writer, and introduced the element of violence and armed struggle as legitimate tools for the Islamist ideology. He was arrested in 1998 and tried and sentenced to aggravated life. The group is organized based on independent cells comprising several people who boast the individual belief of self-induced manifestation, which does not require a hierarchy or central orders to move against a target. IBDA-C members are led to believe in an eventual mass uprising disrupting the established order in Turkey and the world. Each and every member is tasked with waging a militia-type war on every platform to foment chaos, stir up rebellion, and destroy institutions. In the West, we would think that as a decentralized command, in a certain sense. But here, it's basically used to, as the statement, the paragraph said, a cell-based approach. So they are, they're there to take place, lay dormant until circumstances and opportunities present themselves for them to act on. Which is why immigration is such an important topic and will always be and always must remain as such. The IBDA-C, although it is designated as a terrorist organization due to its involvement in violent attacks and bombings in Turkey, has seen a resurgence during the time in power of the Justice and Development Party, AKP, led by Erdogan, who gave IBDA-C a new lease on life. The Turkish president has also orchestrated the release of convicted members of this organization from prison, including Mizrabeoglu, who was serving a life sentence. The release of IBDA-C leader Mizrabeoglu by Erdogan government in 2014, followed by a welcoming phone call from President Erdogan to offer support, is a significant road marker. Mizrabeoglu passed away in May 2018, but his network is still very much alive and is in fact expanding. This is Hamza Yerlikaya, a chief advisor to Turkish president. Today, IBDA-C networks have managed to establish numerous organizations in Turkey. They appear to operate with a degree of political cover, shielded from crackdowns by law enforcement agencies and facing no legal troubles in the criminal justice system. Furthermore, there are allegations that the Erdogan government actively funds the organization through contracts and tenders. And it has even been reported that convicted IBDA-C members are hired in local governments under the control of the AKP. In fact, Erdogan even appointed Hamza Yerlikaya, an individual associated with IBDA-C, in the role of a chief advisor in the presidential palace, which underscores the significant influence that this organization appears to wield within the Turkish government. Furthermore, these networks cooperate with Turkish intelligence agency, MIT, which, as I asserted earlier, Hakan Fidan was the former head of, who now serves as the foreign minister, engaging in such activities as mobilizing jihadists in Turkey and abroad. IBDA-C has also been tapped to incite crowds in the streets when necessary to advance the political agenda of the Erdogan government, making clear the relationship between certain elements within the government and these extremist networks of IBDA-C. Until 2014, the group has been under close monitoring by the Turkish police, which has abducted 17 planned intelligence sweeps against IBDA-C, resulting in the criminal prosecution of its militants. As of August 2009, the police had detained 1,186 IBDA-C militants in total, seizing 146 guns of various calibers and 80 hand grenades, as well as explosive components. A total of 219 terrorist acts perpetrated by IBDA-C militants were solved, and 28 terrorist plots in the planning stages were thwarted by the police. However, those police chiefs who led the effort to crack down on IBDA-C were purged from their jobs between 2014 and 2017. The newcomers who filled the vacated posts observe the government's red line on IBDA-C and avoid investigating IBDA-C militants. Just shy of the centennial celebrations of the Turkish Republic, which was in 1923 till, well, it's 2023, the Republic has fallen, so to speak. And in all honesty, in all frankness, it has fallen long before that. But this is where I'd like to stop and say that I will see you in the next video. For God and country.